I've heard a lot of people say that if you suck at your sport, it doesn't matter how strong you are, right? It's fucking backwards.
We are here with another good drill pod. We have Bobby in the building. We have this guy. Why don't you introduce yourself today, man?
Hi, guys. I'm Ross. I'm excited to be a part of your class.
You're 15 minutes late, sir.
No.
And of course, we have
14.
Will. Will, how are things, man?
Things are great. I think I'd have more fun if I was in person with you guys.
We got to do that. We got to do that.
You got a great setup. I'm sitting here in my small office at home. You guys are in your studio. Vibes would be much higher.
Is it possible to get to New Jersey from North Dakota? Like, I don't even know if that's possible. Do you guys have transportation out there?
Layovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just need some layovers.
Couple layovers.
When I went to Texas to see Tim Riley in the summer, I had my flight got canceled because I fly out of Grand Forks. Grand Forks has 2 terminals, 2 gates. That's how small the airport is. It was a Friday night, like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. flight. It got canceled, and then it could have been postponed. Like, I could have taken a later flight, but then I would have missed my connecting flight from Minneapolis to Texas. So then I ended up having to take a flight at like 5 a.m. the next day. And that was a really quick trip because I came back Sunday. So I went down there Saturday at 5 a.m., but I didn't get into Texas till like 1 p.m. on Saturday. And then my flight out of Texas was like noon on Sunday. That's how difficult it is to travel to and from Grand Forks.
I've actually flown into North Dakota and did a hunting trip there. And I remember we were staying in an Airbnb in some little town, and there was a kid out there, and I was just curious. And I said, "How many kids are in your class?" He looks at me and smiles. He goes, 7. You got 7.
What town?
I don't even know. I was in southeast North Dakota. But anyway.
Southeast North.
Southeast North Dakota. No, I was right over the South Dakota border. But anyway, I want to get right into this.
Southeast Northwest Dakota.
Will,
Okay.
why do you always say that Olympic lifting is better than trap bar jumps?
Because they are.
They just are?
Dude, okay. Here's the issue with it. And I've said this so many times. If the only qualities you're going to cite regarding Olympic lifts and the benefits that they provide are power, triple extension, and rate of force development, mind you, that's not all they provide. But if that's all you're going to cite, because that's like what the typical kind of talking points are for people who are proponents of the Olympic lifts: triple extension, rate of force development, power, right? If that's all you care about, go ahead and do trap bar jumps, go ahead and do loaded jumps, go ahead and do whatever else you want to do. But it's just such an inadequate assessment of what the Olympic lifts provide. So when people say "Oh, don't do Olympic lifts, just do trap bar jumps, you're going to get the exact same stimulus out of them," no, you're not. I guess if all you care about is triple extension, rate of force development, and power output, but we could debate that too, because do you guys follow Dan Cleather?
No.
He has a book called Force. And he's posted a lot of things on Twitter, a lot of threads about this, but he talks about in his book Force too, that even the rate of force development comparison, and they're not the same with Olympic lifts and with trap bar jumps, loaded jumps. The impulses in Olympic lifts are significantly higher because the time to peak force, the time to rate of force development, you have such a shorter window, especially if you're cleaning from a block, from above the knee from the block. You don't have the, with the trap bar jump, you have the counter movement, right? So you're getting this preloading before you jump. So you have this extra time to produce more force, to develop more force, to develop more power. Sorry, I mean, that's kind of my answer, yeah.
So Olympic lifts are good.
There's so much more I could talk about, but I'm going to go into so many different directions, and I'm going to forget all of the correct answers to it. But no, when people say trap bar jumps are just do trap bar jumps because you're gonna get the same stimulus out of doing those than you are with the clean. It's no, you're not. With the trap bar jump, you're not getting rapid triple flexion. You're not creating propulsion onto an external body of mass, only to have to yield that mass within milliseconds and then create more propulsion onto it immediately. You're not. The range of motion in various joints there's a significantly higher demand on getting in and out of various end ranges of motion: the shoulder, the hip, the knees, the ankles, with the Olympic lifts than a trap bar jump. With a trap bar jump, you're just jumping. With an Olympic lift, you're extending and then you're flexing to get back into full hip flexion immediately.
I mean, I think
there's more too, but I'm gonna forget all of it.
I think something very
I
obvious.
wrote an entire ebook on this, and like I've thought about this to a much greater extent than most people.
We could tell
So,
you're very passionate, Will.
yeah, and hey, so there was a period of time last summer where I was like, I wasn't necessarily trying to initiate and like offer debates for people, but there was just so many bad takes regarding it where I did offer people to debate me. Only a few people took me up. Cody Hughes took me up on it, and we had a really good conversation. Justin Lima sort of did, and then I'm not going to get into that. But then there's a lot of people who there's a group of coaches, like strength and conditioning coaches. They're douchebags. They have this group. They have this group chat where they like talk shit about me all the time, and this has been confirmed by 3 people who are in the group chat. Those guys will like make petty comments but never refute anything I say on my posts and shit. And I've offered to debate them and they decline. And
Wait, are you actually saying? I just made this question up. Are you actually saying they're better, or they're just like they're good and they have a purpose, and trap bar jumps are good and they probably have a purpose too? Or are you actually saying
Both
Olympic
are
lifts
good.
are better?
Both are good, both have a purpose. However, in totality, the Olympic lifts offer a more like a higher potent stimulus to the body.
Wait, I just thought of something. I feel like something, just sidetrack, I feel like something that would be really funny if you did would just, you slowly start to branch out to broader and broader things, and you compare Olympic lifts or literally just a full clean to everything. So it's like right next door is a trap bar jump. So that's like, all right, you're talking about force, you're talking about joint angles, you're talking about biomechanics, you're talking about that. But then it's like the natural extreme of it is like it broadens your market of like who you're talking to, and then you compare like the difference between Olympic lifts and kicking a soccer. Why kicking a soccer ball? Why Olympic lifts are better than kicking a soccer ball? And that you could keep going further and further, and that would be hysterical. Why Olympic lifts are better than posting on social media? Like literally, like you're not catching whatever. You're not getting flexion. You're not whatever the argument is. I think that would be hysterical. That's my brain is ADD right now.
Sounds like everybody's is. I'm all
Yeah.
hopped up on coffee. He's got his rock star, and you're just crazy.
I got that good juice.
All right, Combo, bring it back to some type of something.
Why do you think Olympic lifts go through peaks and valleys when it comes to popularity?
I don't know, because they're hard to do technically. Like it does take a long time to become competent in them, you know. And if you try to learn them on your own, and how old are you guys? You're all in your 30s.
28. That guy's 40 or something.
41.
You're 40.
41.
You look a lot younger.
Thanks, bro.
Congrats. I mean, if you're a coach, if you're a strength and conditioning coach, and you were never taught when you were like 18, 19, in like your prime kind of training age, I guess, if you were never taught them, and then you try to kind of learn them yourself later on, maybe in your early 20s or mid 20s, late 20s, whatever, but you never truly develop the competency in them, you're just not going to see the value in them that someone who has competency in them is going to see. And I think, yeah, it is a lot easier to just tell a kid, hey, let's just go do some trap bar jumps instead of a clean, because you can start loading it quicker. The learning curve is a lot shallower with a trap bar jump than a clean. It's just easier to implement other things than a clean. It takes time, and I mean that's probably why. Yeah,
I've never really,
which I think is totally fair, dude. If I don't Olympic lift every client I have, because there's time constraints, there's equipment constraints, there's like the level of skill certain athletes I work with like matters too, and the being efficient and effective with our training time matters too. So like there are people I don't Olympic lift with for the same reasons that a lot of other people don't Olympic lift with their athletes. But it's like that's the reason you're not Olympic lifting. But then people will kind of use this rationality of, I'm not going to use it because is that my computer? I'm not going to use it because it's not conducive to the situation I'm in. But now I'm going to justify it by saying, well, actually, the trap bar jumps do the exact same thing as an Olympic lift, which isn't true. And that's my issue with it, is people are just factually inaccurate when they assess the lifts and they analyze them and compare them to other exercises.
So you think the time you put into it is worthwhile?
Yeah, I think so.
No,
Yeah.
no, he doesn't.
But like,
No.
but dude, if
No, but
like,
some
I've
people
worked with
might say
adult clients-
it's not.
Are bonita fish big?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys had Dan Bach on a couple weeks ago. Dan and I, we like agree on the factual basis of the Olympic lifts and their effectiveness, but Dan values them less than I do for that exact reason. He just doesn't think the time is necessary. You're not going to reap a significantly more benefit by putting the time in towards them, as I would say. But like, we agree on like the facts of it.
I think the most high level point about it is that in my brain, Olympic lifting achieves the most extreme version of what you're trying to do in the weight room, which is the most amount of stimulus per unit of time. And I don't Olympic lift,
for
and
sure.
I don't know, and I wouldn't feel confident teaching people how to Olympic lift. But like, just logically, it's very different than a trap bar jump, because you are literally going to put more work per you. Like, if you have to put money on it, to quantify that is probably impossible. But if you have to put money on it, any form of Olympic lifting is going to be the most work per unit of time against any other singular rep of any other exercise you could do. Is that like,
100%.
does that make sense? Like, that's like that mathed out?
Yeah, I wish I would have said that.
Yeah. That like, that's
I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, steal that. But then I would say, like, so if that is the goal of strength training, which I think it is the goal, I think the weight room is a non-specific way for most athletes to allow that to happen. You could put work in a very short amount of time to stress your body. Like, at the end of the day, you're stressing your body, like, and you should try to push that to the limit. But like, with something like a trap bar jump, like, you could probably do, given the same amount of, I don't even know how to compare it, but you could probably do, like, all right, 8 trap bar jumps with a certain weight, where it's like Olympic lifting, you're shot. What do you think about that play of, like, people that say, okay, I'm just going to do, like, for this set, I'm going to do 4 trap bar jumps, and I'm going to do a bunch of other exercises around it, kind of like contrast everything against, and say, like, okay, that is similar to an Olympic lift versus just doing an Olympic lift. Like, what do you think the English is on that?
So this is what I debated Justin Lima about. He calls it the power complex. So he's like, he says, I'm not gonna do cleans. I'm gonna do the power complex. And the power complex is like a deadlift plus a altitude drop or a depth jump plus a loaded jump. And his rationale, he's wrong, but what he says is, you are breaking up all of the parts of an Olympic lift into the power complex, and you're getting all of the parts of a clean by doing the power complex. So that and these 3 exercises of the power complex are easier to do and easier to implement than a clean. And it's like, you're still missing a lot when you're doing the power complex compared to a clean, because part of like what makes the Olympic lift so valuable is that you're getting all of these joint actions, all of this load. You're getting all of it simultaneously in a matter of milliseconds, where a power complex, you're like doing one thing, you're taking a 20 to 30 second break to move over to the next thing, taking a 20 to 30 second break, moving over to the next thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. People should go check that out on YouTube. Just look up Will Ratelle, Justin Lima, and you'll see the debate.
Can't we look at the difficulty of it as a benefit? Like the fact that it's challenging, right?
That's why people don't want to do it.
We're in the skill development world. We're trying to get more skillful athletes. The fact that there is a challenge component and a skill component to Olympic lifting, getting athletes to problem solve, figure it out, go through this journey of mastering the whatever technique of an Olympic lift, I can see just from a general skill development standpoint, it is a good is good for athletes to learn this because it is good for athletes to learn how to do athletic things. And I see Olympic movements as an athletic thing. And if they can get proficient in it, right, they're going to learn how to transfer that energy into the external mass and catch and do all these things. And it's a highly technical skill. And I think great athletes, right, would pick it up faster than lesser athletes, which brings me to my next question. You have a novice athlete in there. How, I don't know if you can give me a, like, how long it takes you to teach Olympic lifting where you feel like, okay, there's actually benefit here in terms of all the stuff you were talking about. And how do you progress an athlete through the Olympic lifts?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on depends on how athletic the kid is to start.
Are
But
there certain
like if
benchmarks you're
I'm
looking
working,
for? Like, I'm going to start here. Like, what's the bottom and what's the top? Let's say it's a pull from the ground into a clean.
oh, okay. So if I'm working one on one with the kid, it'll probably take me, assuming I spend about 20 minutes per session dedicated to an Olympic lift, whether it's a snatch, clean, or jerk. It probably takes me 4 sessions, so 80 minutes total before they're doing like the full lift from the floor, or if it's a jerk from front rack to overhead. Yeah, there's a progression to it. So like with the clean, I'm gonna have them front squat and RDL first before we start introducing the clean. But assuming their front squat looks decent, their RDL looks decent, first thing I'm gonna have them do is muscle clean. Then I'm gonna do a full trap clean. All of these things are just really basic drills that you're using so that they can understand certain positions, the bar path, how certain, like, sounds kind of lame, but like the mind muscle connection of the traps during that finished pull. Like that's what you're focusing on with the muscle clean and with the full trap clean too. But muscle clean, full trap clean. Then we'll start hang cleaning from above the knee, hang cleaning from below the knee. Then we'll start doing like touch and go cleans where you're slowly lowering the bar across the knee, down the shin, touching the floor, and then cleaning from the floor, touch and go clean. And then we'll start cleaning from the floor. It takes me probably 4 sessions of 20 minutes dedicated to a clean to do that. That's if I'm working one on one. Now with a group, it's going to take a little bit longer because you have more you got to watch more kids, and you got to spend more time with certain kids than other kids. But within, I don't know, like with the volleyball team, when I worked with them, 6, 8 sessions, and then everyone's looking good enough to my standards.
What are you overcoming with breaking up the clean? And like I've seen obviously people, like there's all the different variations of like just derivatives so that you can learn it or almost hone in on certain parts of it. But what are you, when teaching it to somebody that's new, what is the actual thing that is being overcome by breaking it up into parts? Like what is the actual, like what are they learning by doing that? You know what I mean? Like what are they actually
Yeah.
learning?
Well, positions, and when I say positions, I mean like shoulder position in relationship to the bar, where the bar is, your center of mass in relationship to where the bar is, foot position, timing of when we want to start bringing the shoulders back as the bar crosses the knees during the transitioning from first pull to second pull. Be learning all of those like technical aspects and like positional awareness.
Because the reason why I ask that is because my brain immediately goes like all right, block versus hole practice, and it's like, what if you kind of know like the general thing that you're trying to achieve with all those breaks, like, and I'm just saying this as somebody that's coming outside in for the most part with Olympic lifting. I feel like there should be something that is scalable, that, like, as an example for shooting, right? We're not like, how much do we break down somebody's shot to say like, okay, you have to understand all these things. Now it's completely different. It's way more fine motor and less about total output 100%. But even something like squatting, like what do you start with a squat? You start with a goblet squat, like, and that's like a simple way to learn. Maybe heel elevated so that they can understand balance, and then you're still doing the squat though to some extent. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
I had
I
some.
mean, that's kind of there's like a contentious point there too, like, because a lot of times you'll hear the argument that technique has to be perfect or not perfect, but people who oppose Olympic lifts, they'll say technique has to be good in order to get the stimulus you're looking for, which I also disagree with because You guys know what a no contact clean is?
Yes.
Or a no contact snatch, where you're not actually making contact with the bar. That's technically a poor technique. Like that's technically doing a clean or snatch incorrectly, right? But that's also a drill that people intentionally do.
Lifting
And you
weight
still
itself
get
is inefficient way of living, and that's why
Say that again?
having weight on you and moving is inefficient. Period.
Right.
So to argue
Yeah.
that is dumb.
So like I used to work with a football team, and when you work with a football team, there's gonna be a lot of kids who just suck and like don't do it very well. So when they're cleaning, a lot of them just do a shitty rep of a clean where it looks like a no contact clean. It almost looks like they're intentionally doing a no contact clean. And I look at that and I'm like, you know what? They actually probably are getting a decent stimulus still from that. You know?
Do you think form is overrated in general when it comes to lifting weights?
That's I don't know, man. There's a lot of different directions you can kind of take with that. That's where like the whole thing with me and Angus started. It's not a real beef, but Angus takes the position that like form or technique doesn't matter in terms of injury risk, which to a certain degree I agree with, because like deviations from whatever your standard lifting form is going to have a very negligible effect on vulnerability to an injury. But technique, like if we define technique as the manner in which you perform a task, and think about like a sprain an ankle, eversion or inversion, right? Sprain of an ankle. You inverted your ankle when you landed on a jump. The technique you used was inverting your ankle, and that caused an ankle sprain. So that is technique. So like if we agree that technique is the manner in which you perform a task, and the manner in which you perform a task has an effect on the way forces are distributed throughout the skeletal system, then of course technique matters in terms of injury risk. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, minor deviations, who cares? Doesn't really matter.
Angus
I don't know if
beef.
I answered your question or not. But
Brightness.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, let's say you're trying to get a couple extra curls up. It's okay to, use a little momentum here and there.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, because yeah, you're getting more contractions into that muscle.
Yeah, definitely.
Like high intent contractions, and then you have to lower the weight, and you're getting somewhat of like a quasi supermax eccentric contraction on the bicep on the way down too.
Yeah. You even went through a time in your own athletic journey where you stopped Olympic lifting. Did you feel like you were missing anything during that time, and why'd you stop?
Yeah, I did. So that's kind of the genesis of all this. So because I was taught, like most people in strength and conditioning, the reason you clean or the reason you snatch is for triple extension, rate of force development, and power output, right? And so I start hearing these arguments from a lot of people about, oh, we're going to do trap bar jumps or other loaded jumps because we're getting triple extension, rate of force development, and power output, just like a clean, but you're doing it with like less effort, kind of. And I hadn't actually analyzed the Olympic lifts at that time, right? So I didn't have an argument against the people who opposed them at the time. So I was like, oh, I guess they're right. Like I don't really have an argument against them, so I guess they're right. But something still like didn't sit well with me. So I went away from Olympic lifting and I did a lot of trap bar jumps, barbell jumps, dumbbell jumps, seated loaded jumps, med ball, whatever it is, all of the kind of like common substitutions that people throw out there. And I could tell when I'm doing that stuff, it just isn't the same. But I didn't know why. I didn't have an actual rationale. And I went away from Olympic lifts, how long? I don't know. I ran a program by Schmarzo, and that had no Olympic lifts. Like I've I've purchased other people's programs, that don't agree with me on this stuff, and I've ran them. And there's just like, at the time, there's something missing. Like the Olympic lifts are providing so much more. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but I could tell Olympic lifts are providing so much more than what these loaded jump variations are doing for me. And that's when I was like, I have to figure out why that's the case. And then I started really thinking about it more. Analyze the movement, analyze the application of the load, the fact that the load changes position at the start to the finish in relationship to your center of mass, where like a loaded jump, the load is essentially just an extension of your own mass because it's either in your hands or it's on your back the entire time. It doesn't change from below your knee to on your shoulders. So that was kind of like the genesis of why I really became more passionate about Olympic lifts. And now I actually can defend my positions regarding it.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying these questions I'm about to ask you, or the question I did ask you and what I'm about to ask you. Why do you say strength is more important than skill?
Did I say that?
Something like that. Probably not.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I said strength is more important than technique, didn't I?
No, you were talking about
That's
how people are saying skill trumps strength. You had to post something about it regarding how you see strength.
yeah.
Everyone is saying that skill is more important than strength development or whatever, and you're saying no. You have a
Oh,
counter argument to it.
oh,
So you did say
that's what it
this.
was.
Exactly. You said it exactly
Yeah.
that
Now I
way.
have to think. I have to think about what I said.
I
I have to
mean,
think about what I said.
Pavel always
Oh,
says
this
that
is what it
strength. Go
was.
ahead.
This is
You
what it
got it. You
was.
got
This is
it.
what it was. It's this quote, and I've heard so many people, and I love Cody Hughes, by the way. But I know for a fact Cody Hughes has said this on like multiple podcasts, and he's put it out on Twitter and stuff, and he believes it. Other people too, but I've heard a lot of people say that if you suck at your sport, it doesn't matter how strong you are, right? We've all heard people say that. It's fucking backwards. If you suck at your sport, the more you need to rely on strength or other various physical qualities to kind of overcome your inadequate skill set. That was my point.
I would go one
But what-
further.
but
I'm
what-
though.
not saying don't work on skill, and that's what some people kind of took it as, like, oh, don't work on skill, just get strong. No, that's fucking stupid.
Put one of those dudes in a
Dude,
pickup game, they're gonna hurt somebody though. One of those dudes that can't play basketball, but they're really strong,
That's you.
they're gonna hurt
Maybe.
somebody. They're gonna hurt somebody.
That's you.
Go ahead though. What were you gonna say?
I would go one further with that. I would go one further. I would say, and I've said it before, like to say strength isn't a skill and athleticism isn't a skill would just be people trying to separate strength and skill for no reason. Like, why isn't strength a skill? Strength can help you achieve certain things on the court. So
Right.
can ball handling, and so can being a threat to be a good shooter, and so can everything else. Like, strength is, and I made this argument, if I had to choose, like, if I had to blindly pick a Division III basketball player or an NFL wide receiver, and I had to put them onto my NBA team, I would pick the NFL wide receiver. And even if I would pick them. And they clearly, the chances of them being less skilled at basketball than the Division III player is extremely high, but they are going to be better at the sport. And it's not to say that it is 100% true of a statement. Maybe based on definitions, it is not true. But I think and I've argued this, I think it's a safer assessment of what skill is, because then you are way more signal based on what are the things that are actually going to help you achieve things on the court or on the field or whatever you're doing as an athlete, versus saying something is arbitrarily a skill or saying something is arbitrarily not a skill and not important, when like being stronger will help you be better on the court.
Yeah. I have definitely said in the past that if you suck at basketball and you spend all your time in the weight room, you'll still probably suck at basketball, which I do agree with. That does not mean strength training is not going to help you with basketball. It's just, I think a lot of kids fall into the trap of obsessing in the weight room. So they're hoopers, but they see the
Do
numbers
you
go
see
up
that
in the
with
weight.
basketball players?
Yeah, it was me. That's my story. I've shared it on podcasts with other guests. I loved going in there because it was something that I could control. So I spent more time in the weight room, right, working on my athletic development than I did on the court working on my skill development. And it was just it was not the right allocation of time to
Never met a single basketball player like that. Never.
Bobby's very unique.
Yes. No, it happens. It happens. There are
I've
hoopers.
met football players like that,
Yeah.
but not basketball players.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's uncommon, but it happens. And it happens in it manifests in different ways. Some they love the weight room. Some they'll just like push themselves to exhaustion in like one-on-0 sessions on the court. They'll do like stationary ball handling for 45 minutes straight and just burn every last calorie inside of them and
That's a
be
bad
happy.
allocation.
I think this problem can manifest in the weight room. It can also manifest with I'm going to get 1,000 shots every day. It's the same problem, right? Kids focus on things that aren't really the thing they need to be focusing on to get to where they want to go. They get lost in I'm going to check this box and get 500 reps, or I'm going to check this box and be able to squat 500 pounds, where their goal goal is to play Division I basketball? And is their daily habits, is their structure for living, right, in line with the goal that they're trying to achieve? And a lot of times, as we always say, they lose the plot and don't do that.
To Ross's point, I think you're right about, the Division III NFL wide receiver thing, because I think athleticism is your foundation and it raises your ceiling.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm just like not agreeing. I just disagree. I don't see like foundation to say something's foundation to something else. I don't agree.
Because if your athletic baseline's not high enough, you won't be able to
Why
play
isn't
at
it
the
skillful
highest...
baseline and the athleticism's that cherry on the top?
I think strength and athleticism could be seen as a skill too. I see what you're saying.
My whole thing is like I think there's like people envision like a food pyramid of qualities and they think, okay, strength and athleticism go here, and then it's like, okay, now we're gonna put skill here, and then we're gonna put IQ and perception here, and it's like this is the most direct like the way you transfer to be better at basketball, but it's just not true. There's some players that literally, like, if they're really good, they've never touched a weight, and they go strength train, they're going to be really good after that. And then there's some
we're talking about the pyramid, because I think at the top, even if you have the skill and the feel for the game, if you don't have a baseline level of athleticism, athletic pop, I know you guys laugh at that. You won't.
Now I do.
No, seriously though. If you have all the skills in the world,
That's a great hook. If you have no athletic pop and you do this,
no, but seriously, if
nobody said that ever. You're the first.
I'm the first person who said that. If you have all the skills in the world, all the IQ, all the feel for the game, if you have all the skills in the world, all the feel, if you don't have that baseline level of athleticism, the skills won't show in a real game.
No, I'm not saying
is that true though. Do you agree?
I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying the order in which things go of like this is foundational to this or this is foundational to this, I think is just unnecessary because I don't think anyone really knows what's foundational to what. I would argue honestly that the most foundational thing, like if you're talking about fundamentals, and I've said this before, the most fundamental thing you can do is know what you want to do. That's foundations
in life.
And then you could say, isn't that IQ? Okay, IQ is now that bottom thing. If you don't have IQ, like that's on the bottom, and everything else is stacked on top. But then you could argue the other way. I think it's all just words. But I think if you're just staying focused on what do you want to do on the court, and then back to what you real quick, I'm just intuition. Like you didn't do something because of knowledge that you thought you had, because of logic that you thought you had. You went away from something that was working, something that you liked, and then you tried something else because it didn't make sense and you stayed with it. I think about that a lot, like it's the most important thing. And if you look at the best athletes, they follow their intuition of what they think is right. And I also think the best coaches help the athletes follow their intuition, and they don't overstep, and they don't try to people are ready for different things at different times, and there's different ways to do things. That's something that I thought about. Wait, I had something else with that. Wait, my brain's.
I will speak to that.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I've heard you talk about things that you do in rest periods before, letting them kind of decide, stuff like that. That's just one example. But what do you think about the intuition part of it?
Can you be a little bit more specific on the question part so I can answer? You know?
Yeah. How much? There's no way to quantify it, but how much do you think, as a coach, how much do you think coaches should be imposing what they believe to be true against what the athletes want to be doing? What comes first?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'll tell you a story. So, I work with a basketball kid. He goes to IMG. You guys heard of IMG, right?
Yes, sir.
In Florida. So he goes there. So he comes home because it's like a boarding school. So he comes home in the summer and he works with me. He's a basketball player. And him and his parents, they want to do basketball specific training, right? Which we all kind of know is kind of bullshit. Doesn't exist.
No, we do it. We do it very well. We do it the best.
So, I'm having him do skater jumps, right? Left foot to right, side to side, over a hurdle or for distance or something. And I know this kid wants to do basketball stuff. So I'm not compromising my values or principles here, but I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a medicine ball, and now we're going to do weighted Euro steps. So it's like you're kind of feeding him that way. You know what I mean? So like there's a little bit of just kind of, yeah, there's a little intuition there. This kid thinks he's doing something more specific than it really is. I'm still like using principle based approach to load him and provide him a certain stress that might induce some sort of adaptation.
I would argue that that's not intuition by his part. I have to work on this thought a little bit more. I would argue that that's not a genuine intuitive thing. Like he actually wants to do that because he wants to get really good at basketball. Because I don't think people that want to get really good at basketball, their first thing would be like, oh, I need to have a sick Euro step. And you know what? I don't think that I'm working on this with weight. Now I have to work on it with weight. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that's real.
Step backs and Euro steps. That's all I need.
Yeah, with a weight, because that's going to make me really good. I just don't believe that's true. But I have to work on that more. Circling back to the Olympic lifts, and you transitioned over to doing trap bar jumps and stuff. I think one of the biggest things that I love about Olympic lifting, even though I don't do it, is the fact that there's a competitive component to it. There's a clear competitive component where it's not arbitrary of, or I'm going to try to jump as high as I can, or I'm going to, I don't know, produce as much power as possible. It's, I have to successfully complete this lift, and I have to increase the amount of weight that I'm using over time. And if you follow that, doing something as complex, yet as complex, but yet as intense as an Olympic lift, that will get you really good over time. And we talked about with your whole program, like that is the idea of that program. It's how can you set up somebody to compete with themselves.
Should we tell them about it?
Yeah, we should. But what do you think about the competitive nature of Olympic lifting and how it plays into why it's good? Do you think it's important or not really?
Yeah, I've talked about that before. You are working as an opponent against the barbell, but also like as a teammate against the barbell. So you're trying to project it. You're trying to impose a lot of force onto the bar, but you have to do it precisely so that it works with you, and you can do it. You want to produce as much force as possible, as much power as possible, but you have to do it in a precise manner in order to successfully complete the exercise, the activity, the task. So yeah, no, I agree. I've talked about that before, 100%.
And then like over time, just like knowing over time, you're saying, okay, I was able to do 250, and now I'm trying to beat that. I'm trying to have a plan so I could beat that PR. And when you beat it, it's very different than like beating a squat max or beating a bench max, because it's a way faster movement. It's an athletic movement. It's different, like sequential movement patterns. It's not all at the same time. It's a very different movement, that whole aspect of it.
Yeah. 100%. I don't have anything to elaborate. I just agree.
Yeah, I would just think if I'm working with basketball players, like I could just argue that, because maybe I don't want that happening in the weight room, because I want their focus to be on becoming a better basketball player. And if I started to see an athlete overly focused on chasing PRs, whether it's in an Olympic lift or squatting or whatever it is, and they're not really focused, it would be my job. Again, if we're talking about communication with an athlete, he had his story about the kid from IMG. I would want to, like, if he's coming in every day hungry, right? I got 250, I got 255 today, next week. And I could just see all of his focus getting an Olympic lift. Maybe he's going to be a professional Olympic lifter at some point, and which isn't a problem either. All right, go do that. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, when I was listening to you talk about
you're kind of just describing Goodhart's Law there, right?
Huh?
You're kind of just describing Goodhart's Law.
I have no idea. Good law? Did you say?
Good law.
So Goodhart's Law is when you have a metric that you value, but now the metric ceases to become a good metric because you're overvaluing that metric when it's supposed to relate to some sort of other goal.
Yeah. The transfer Olympic lifting is supposed to give you like rate of force development and all those things that are really important about Olympic lifting.
Yeah, but now you're overemphasizing all of it to get good at the thing that is supposed to be.
I'm messing with you.
It's supposed to be.
I just had my first. I've been having this idea. We talk about simple strength training all the time. It's like we go as basic as possible when we're like recommending things to athletes or whatever, and we're like, pick a simple strength training program and stick to it. Right? Let's say you want your vert to go up. Measure your vert before you do it. Pick a simple strength training program. Go do all your basketball, whatever. And as long as you have that process of measuring, right, putting in a body of work, 4 to 6 weeks, whatever you want to call it, and remeasuring, you'll find out in that first year what works for you and what doesn't. But the main thing is consistency, progressive overload, working at the edge of your ability. So we always talk about this idea of, we just call it simple strength training. And now I'm coming up with an idea of good strength training. And I'm trying to think of something that I haven't seen. And there's a very good chance that when I explain this to you, you're going to be like, oh, this guy does that exact thing. And I didn't come up with anything, because it's very, very simple. But so my idea is, it's based off a 7-rep max. So we're just going to use one exercise right now, and it's a squat, right? Your first set, you're picking a load that you believe you can get for 7 reps. It doesn't need to be exact. So I can front squat 225 for 7 in my head. On day 1, I go in there and I front squat 225 for 7. Now it is my goal to get to 20 completed working reps as fast as possible in as little amount of sets as possible. So I go in, right? I hit my 7. The first time I did this, I hit my 7, right? My second set, well, my first set felt really light. My second set, I went in there and I hit 10. So I already did it. And then I 0-3 quick. The next time I went to it, I knew I could get, right, 10 reps on that first set. So I did 10-5-5. But the goal now is not an increase of load. It's getting my 7-rep made up max 20 times. And then over time, I want to see what happens to your 7-rep max. Did I explain everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And the nature of it, of why it's good, is similar to the thing that I was saying about Olympic lifts, of it's a very clear goal that you have that you're trying to actively pursue, and the fact that you can always do more reps in a given set. If you're trying to compete, if you're turning on that competitive engine, you could always do more sets. But if you have like a laid out thing of like, I'm doing this amount of sets, this amount of reps with this amount of weight, you're just like going to do that. And there's no competitiveness to it in that moment. But in a moment in time where he's saying like, I was able to get 10 reps. Now I'm going to crush this. He thinks that he can get to a 20 rep max using that to 20 reps in how long did you think?
3-4 months.
3-4 months. He thinks he could go from a 7-rep max of a certain weight to a 20-rep max of
There's
that
a higher
weight.
level of motivation going in there. So I started with something I could get in my head 7, and it auto regulates too. Let's say that was too light and I could have done 255 for 7, right? So you're just going to get that 1x20 faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this what are you thinking?
I like it.
Yeah.
It's good.
What I haven't worked out is like splits and accessory stuff and what's needed in terms of volume and yeah.
You're talking about, so there's the thing you're writing for a program.
I think so.
Okay, yeah. I like it.
Well, it's like I look at the programs that are popular out there. It's 1x20. My problem with 1x20 is if I'm not like hovering over an athlete telling him to go near failure, he never gets near failure, right? And also, if you do go near failure, whatever your first couple lifts are, you are shot by the last, right? So I make sure. So I love 1x20, but I need Alex on the gym or Ross in the gym or me on top of this athlete, because if I do not say go near failure, they stop at rep 20 every single time. No matter if they could have got 20 more or 1 more, they always stop at 20. No matter how many times I remind them, they stop at rep 20. So I have to be like, no, you need to die on this, right? Till death. Keep going.
Yeah.
1 more, 5 more. And that happens all the time. And I know if I gave somebody a 1x20 and I wasn't there doing that, they're not going to do it the way it's intended. And then other, 5-rep, 3-rep max stuff, it's just, I think, inherently dangerous when my demographic is high school players. This is, again, will auto-regulate to your age. So it could be a front squat for me or a back squat for you or a Hoss squat, whatever you like to do. And for a high school kid, it could be a goblet squat, follow the same thing. And you could use it for any single lift.
And it's like if you pick 7 reps at 200 pounds and that's what you think for that first one, well, you don't just stop at 7. Your goal is to get to 20 reps in as little
only
amount
the
of
first
sets.
time you do it, only on day 1. So like day 1, I did 7, and I was like, wow, that was a lot easier than I thought. So then I hit 10, but now in my brain, I knew I could freaking hit 10 the next week when I went back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you think?
Yeah. I like it. Put that shit out.
Did I steal it from somebody? No, it doesn't seem like I did.
I haven't heard of that.
That's what I'm like. I'm waiting for somebody to
somebody
be like, oh, this guy's been doing that for freaking 20 years. And I know it's not anything crazy. It's just like whatever. But I like it. And I'm trying to, I feel like I need to get through it. I want to get like one time through it to where I can front squat 225 by 20 to feel. I don't need to. I could just sell whatever the hell I want, honestly. So maybe we'll sell it. Good strength training coming soon. Will Ratelle says it's okay.
Endorsed.
Yeah.
Endorsed by Will.
Um, wait, I have something.
Go ahead.
So you were just talking about accessory lifts to it, and I said that I feel like you could just do that, and that could just be like kind
I
of
talked
it.
to Josh Fan yesterday. He's like, he would do like one locomotive thing after it. So like a forward reverse lunge and then maybe like an ab.
Locomotive.
Yeah, that's what he said.
A sprint is a locomotive, right?
That's what I would say too.
Yeah.
I'd agree with Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Locomotive.
But like,
good.
so 4 exercises. So you have.
I wouldn't call it locomotive, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Dude, Ross, I
love that name.
saw that post. I saw that post. You it was like 2 days ago when you said if someone uses the term constraint based, what is a constraint based approach or whatever it was, get out of my gym. So that's funny.
See,
Yeah.
people see it.
Yeah.
He was so bad about that post because it didn't do well in terms of views.
Worst
but
post ever.
I'm like, some people will really like this.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm
but I
happy you
agree
said
with it,
that. I'm
too.
very
That
happy
makes
you
him
said
feel
that.
so good you
It
just
does.
said that.
It does. It does. Because nobody saw you. You were the only person to have 3 views. You were one of them.
It made me laugh. It made me laugh, but it made me laugh because it's true.
Yeah.
You know? Like
And that's what it literally is true. We had a kid that's 6'9", and he's talking to me about physical therapy school when he's a junior in high school. And it's the first day of meeting him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of in between." I'm like, "Dude, like if you talk about physical therapy school again, I promise you will never be good at basketball because no good basketball player ever thought about the potential of going to physical therapy school while they're in the midst of potentially playing Division I basketball, going to school for free, trying to also play pro maybe one day. Like those two things are not coinciding.
That kid played on his national team.
Yeah, he was the best player on his team.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, I might want to go to physical therapy school. It's like, you're an idiot.
Maybe basketball's not in his heart.
Exactly.
No, it is. Now it is. Forced it there. So the accessory stuff. I saw a post of yours on my late drive here. I was just like going
Very
through.
late drive.
Yeah, very late drive. And I saw a post where you were talking about accessory lifts. You were talking about there was something about accessory lifts that I saw of yours. And I think one of the biggest things that basketball players feel a little bit, basketball players feel a little bit overwhelmed by the weight room if they haven't lifted before ever in their life. They think that they have to do like 100 different lifts, and that's going to mean that they did a good strength training session if they did every single lift for every single muscle group and they did all these things. When I think in my brain, all right, if they literally just squatted or deadlifted and that was 80 or 90% of the time that they spent in the weight room was just on that, that would be better than running around the weight room with like a chicken with your head cut off, doing every single lift under the sun. It comes from, I feel like, a lot from PT world and from really trying to super strength coaches that want to be really smart and say you got to hit every single muscle group, you have to hit all these different things because everything has to be
That's
balanced.
kind of like 1 times 20 though, right? Like hitting almost every muscle group.
It is, but it's a little different, the nature of that. And I see why that is, because it's one set of 20, so it's a little bit different. What do you think about literally players, how a new basketball player starting to lift and telling them to just squat or just deadlift and just work on that and then slowly build over time? Do you think that's good advice, or do you think that they should do something else?
No, I do think that's good advice. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll tell everybody.
Well,
to do that.
I think the point I was making was like, if you do a back squat, what are all the muscle groups that are being hit? Quads, glutes, hamstrings to an extent, the muscles of the spine. Like you do a bunch of back squatting, you're hitting like all of the major muscle groups in your body, and you're loading them to a greater extent than if you're going to do something like like an accessory lift. So it's like if you're hitting squats really hard, you're not going to get a more potent stimulus after you just squatted doing something like a lunge. You're not training different muscle groups than what you just trained with a back squat. I think that was kind of the point of what I was making, which I would agree with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you have to, or if you're going to squat, you also, you're going to squat. You have to also do a lunge. You have to do a side lunge. You have to do a reverse lunge. You have to make sure you hit every single part of every single lunge and lower body variation, when it just like, no, you don't have to do that. Just squat. It's already not your sport. Just squat, get good at that, and it's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
If you could only perform 5 lifts for the rest of your life, what would those lifts be?
All right. Deadlift, back squat, clean, incline press, chins.
Kind of hit everything there. Yeah.
Yep.
You did say clean. I thought you didn't say clean for a second. I was worried.
I debate between clean or snatch there, but I choose clean because you can load it heavier.
And do you think anything?
That's my original.
Do you think you'd be missing anything with just those 5 lifts? Obviously, you'd be missing a lot, but would you be able to keep the same amount of muscle mass, keep the same amount of performance on the basketball court?
Yeah, I don't think you're missing anything. You could like make the argument that it's not 100% an adequate amount of stress to like the calves or something.
Right.
But you're gonna get the calves working really hard if you're sprinting and doing plyos and playing sports.
Right.
Or like your groin, same thing.
And it's like there's no objective way to say your glutes are too strong for your calves.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a thought that should exist, but I don't think it does exist. You know, like there's people that worked on farms when they're younger. If they just do the same repetitive task over and over again, and it's literally just lifting hay and throwing it, and that's all they're doing, like they're not hitting calves, but they're fine. They're okay.
They're just fine. Their calves are probably pretty fucking big too.
Yeah, probably.
Anyways.
Sometimes I'm driving down the road and I'm thinking about something and it feels really good in my head and I'm like, I wish somebody would ask me this on a podcast. I just want to give you that opportunity. Like, is there anything you've been thinking about that you wanted to share that we didn't touch today that you've just been ruminating on or want to get out to the 4 people that will listen to this?
No, we're doing pretty good.
No, we're doing pretty good.
No, because no, not really. Because like anything I post on Instagram or on YouTube is usually just a response from like a topic that I've seen other people talk about. So none of it's organic. I just see someone talk about a topic, and I'm like, I'm gonna give my take on that. So yeah, I'm unoriginal.
No, that is original. Everything's inspiration. You have something?
Do you have something?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about content.
Okay, I want to ask something.
Go.
Will, about his career.
Oh yeah, go.
You know, when you signed in the NFL, CFL, you had all the athletic measurables to play in those leagues. What did you learn about the mental side of the game during that time period of your life?
I don't think I learned anything about it. I wasn't good enough. That's why.
But physically, you were, right?
Yeah, athletically, I was probably in like the top quarter of everyone there, but I don't know. I wasn't like smart enough to understand a playbook and figure out the right reads at the right time and all that kind of stuff. Like as a fullback. But I guess I don't think I learned anything. I guess I would say at that time, I think I probably did overvalue the athletic qualities more than like actually understanding the playbook and actually understanding the technical and tactical side of football. But
yeah, I think that's real. Like as you go up levels, you start to see how much more tactics and remembering plays. Even overseas, I remember like the higher level I went, the more of that there was, and I was like, damn, some of these guys' memories are crazy. You know, especially the guys that play in the NBA.
They're unaware of it though. They're unaware of it. You know, they're not thinking about what the right read is. They just know.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
They just do.
I mean, and some people have photographic memories, like they can remember a whole playbook, like nothing. And some people struggle with that. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Get your brain up. This is where we need like a little neuro gum or something like that. Neuro
He's
gum.
got sponsorships, this guy.
Dude, what the?
Barbell Apparel. They're paying him to wear that right now.
Dude,
now we're shouting them out for free. What are we doing?
Yeah, dude.
Send us
I
some
don't
gear,
want
Barbell Apparel.
I don't
Please
want
send us
any
some
gear.
gear.
No, Barbell, if you're listening, I don't want any gear. I don't need anything. We're going to make my own sweatshirt, okay? And we'll be just fine with a good sweatshirt.
You know, actually, Barbell, it kind of sparked something in my brain.
Oh my God, we keep saying it.
No, but wait.
He's got to go.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Does it matter the tool when it comes to?
Yeah, I got class in 40 minutes.
Go ahead.
Does it matter the tool? I want to hear
Does it matter the tool when it comes to Olympic lifts? Can we do it with dumbbells, kettlebells, or do you love barbells?
Good question. Yeah, I would only consider an Olympic lift derivative if it's with a barbell.
Copy.
Like you can do kettlebell snatches, kettlebell cleans, and call them kettlebell cleans and kettlebell snatches, but It's not close enough to what you're getting with the barbell to call it like an alternative or something like that.
Do you like a single arm dumbbell split snatch?
No,
No, you don't like it.
no.
Wow.
I guess unless the individual performing it is severely undertrained, it's like a 12-year-old kid or something. Yeah, then it's gonna be good. But if I can't find a dumbbell heavy enough for me to do something like that. I could throw 90 kilos to hit my ceiling. You know, I could throw it up there. So
That'd be
No,
good. And
I
then you
don't
get
like
some agility work when it's coming down. Go for
and
it,
I
bro.
can get some more. I can get more construction work in my house.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All
wanna
work,
check
all
my-
work is good work.
You want to finish up, Ross?
Yeah, just real quick. Content. What is your goal with what you do on social media, and do you have any type of vision for where you're going with what you do on social media or business, or you're just kind of just going every single day and just post your inspirations?
Yeah. I don't necessarily like, have a goal or vision of where I want to go, but when it comes to like putting out content, giving my takes on things, I just want it to be original, and I just want it to be an authentic take. I've said it so many times before. I don't want to talk about like the 3 benefits of creatine or like why sleep is important for performance. I don't want to talk about that kind of shit because that's boring. I want to actually like talk about. This also sounds lame, but it's true. Like the thing with Olympic lifts, there's nuances to it and how to apply it into an athletic development plan. Like I want to talk about like real applicable shit that a lot of people aren't already aware of. So like when I provide my take on a topic, I want it to be something that other people haven't necessarily thought about before. I want to provide a different angle.
That's good. That's
is good.
good. That is
Yeah.
good.
But real and nuances don't do as well on social, right?
He's doing
It's
pretty
more
well.
like quick, hot takes that people can understand because a lot of people aren't
yeah.
that
Like, why is
smart.
Olympic lifting better than trap bar
Yeah,
jumps?
yeah, exactly. Like that type of
There you
stuff.
go.
Yeah. 3 ways to do this. 10
Yeah.
ways to do this.
But this is why long form's good, because
Yeah,
we can obviously be joking about things and asking you some, questions that we'll unpack.
Well, I think like there's people maybe that get a trillion views by talking about the 3 benefits of creatine, but you don't know who they are.
yeah,
You
no
know
problem.
that that the post
I
is
know
there.
they're selling creatine.
I know they're selling creatine.
that was wisdom right there.
But but Will Ratelle, where Will Ratelle this is his take, this is how he talks, this is breakdown of Olympic lifts. That's the things that I think about when I think about you. There's a brand that happened, like for me, my brain, that I think that's 100% valid. I like that.
No, we've been looking at your YouTube for a while. Ross said it probably a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. He's like, this is going to blow up.
Yeah.
Just because it's you lifting weights and talking about whatever's on your mind, and it's awesome. And it's not the hack, it's not the quick approach to growing something, but it's authentically you speaking your mind, and that's awesome to see. What do you got for people to buy and give you money for things?
Haas Olympic is probably my best product. I think it's 27 pages. The ebook is. That's the one I'm at least most proud about.
Buy it.
Because I really do analyze the Olympic lifts and how to implement them outside of like the purpose of getting better at Olympic lifts.
Yeah.
Buy it. It's in the link below. Good job.
Thanks for taking the time, Will. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Talk soon.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Peace.
Peace.